Awesome. Welcome in to another quick installment, part three, the final part of local championship weekend. So we're all waiting. How'd it go?
Well, if you look behind me there, we've got a third mat,
Third
another
mat.
champion mat, and four Stitch Rockstars total now. The end of 2 weeks of play.
All right. So 2 weeks, you played in four tournaments, came out with four stitches and three champion mats. That is impressive. Do you want to give us a quick recap? That was so two tournaments. Anything to highlight? Anything we should know?
Yeah, first tournament was Saturday, or I guess third tournament total, but since the last video, I got to play kind of like home court. I was playing at the Game Chamber in London, which is where I play every Saturday, my league games. It was a 32 person tournament, biggest one I did as well, and it went great. I played literally Emerald the whole day. Every single matchup was a variation of Emerald something. I went undefeated. I won every game. Drew intentionally once just to get myself a little break after the first 4 rounds. And then I took home another champion match. So that day was long, but fun. And it was so fun to play with those people. Everyone brought in like a bunch of like treats and like sandwich stuff. And we all had like a little bit of a potluck while we played. So that was kind of cool.
Awesome.
Yesterday was tournament four. Um, Things went great for the most part. I had some really rough early matchups, but I still managed to pull out a win. And then I took my first tournament loss in four tournaments in the semifinals. So I missed out on the mat that time. Still won a stitch. And I lost to someone I had knocked out of the semifinals in an earlier tournament, so it felt very fitting. We have like a little back and forth rivalry, and I think we ended up, both of us, after all was said and done, with exactly the same amount of stitches and mats and placements. Like it was dead even.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, we there are a couple comments on the YouTube channel. I know we probably shouldn't read the comments, but it's fun. Would you consider that was that your piece of humble pie?
Losing in a semi, I don't know if that's humble pie.
I mean,
um,
you still got the four stitches, and that's still something to be proud
I,
of. Not to brag about, but to be proud of.
I'm pretty proud of it. I did a lot of practice too. Like it's not like these were free wins. I had a lot of really close, really tight games. I have a lot of respect for so many of the people I played. Like there were games where someone pushed me to the last couple cards in my deck. And there were games where I thought they won it and somehow like it's been a crazy four tournaments. You play enough cards and anything can happen, and it felt like everything did happen. So I feel confident. I feel good. I feel, better, more prepared for Chicago than I did before. But yeah, maybe I didn't quite have the humble pie people were trying to serve me.
That's all right. That's all right. It's good to come away with the win. And there is one other thing I wanted to talk on. We're not going to get in the comment section here and get into little arguments, but there seems to be a little bit of an ethical question about whether or not you should be going to all these different tournaments to try to win as many as you can. I have my personal opinion on it because, I like to play poker, and I would never imagine on the World Poker Tour that they say if you're not from Montreal, don't go to the WPT Montreal. They want the best poker players to go to that tournament, and it's not about saving some prize money for some of the locals, right? So, what's your take on this whole kind of ethical issue that we're seeing come up?
I don't like I understand that some people have a problem with it. It very much feels like for a lot of people, myself included, this is our first TCG. It's our first competitive TCG. I've never played in a card tournament before. The first Lorcana one I did, like, so I think for a lot of people, there's a learning curve that needs to happen with kind of like what distinguishes competitive versus collecting and versus casual play. This was competitive. I didn't think I would win a single stitch when I signed up for four tournaments. I hoped I would win one. And every time I won one, I was surprised because I was always playing good people. I was always having to think and try. And like there was never a moment where I got to take my foot off the gas. I went into Saturday's tournament, 32 people. In the first two rounds, I played two opponents who then won every other match other than me. I played the entire final four before the final four.
Right.
Like I had the hardest schedule. So at every turn, I did it for the competition and I got that out of it and I got to compete and I'm lucky enough to walk away with a win. And I can understand why that would upset people. I would just hope they know that a lot of work went into it. I did a lot of practice. And I also invested, hopefully what people see is like a lot of time trying to help other people make their decks, get their strategies together. I entered two tournaments on the weekend where more than half of the people had seen our last video, had seen my deck list, knew my strategies, and they had every advantage on top of on top of me as well. So just trying.
Yeah. It is what it is, honestly. Like, I think that these tournaments aren't free to enter. You have to pay real money to enter them. Like, why would you not, like, if you're showing up, you're competing for a prize at the end of the day. And there's no difference in that than any other tournament type of style thing you would enter when it costs an entry fee.
One of my favorite people to play against. She's really, really good. She was making fun of me. She was teasing me at the end of Saturday, and she was kind of like, "What do you need another mat for?" And I just looked at her and I took my mat and I handed it to her and I'm like, "Here, take it. It's yours. I love playing against you, and if this is what you want, absolutely 100% you just have it." And she's like, "No, I want to win it. I'll see you tomorrow." And she showed up to the next tournament. We played again. Like, I, I love that aspect of it of like I want to be the best and I want to play the best to be the best.
Well, actually, that brings me to my next point. And I am saying that these mats are actually going for anywhere between $600 online, maybe more. What do you think about people like buying the mat? Now, before I say anything, I know that, professional athletes have championship rings for sale. And it's not like those people earn them and they want them as memorabilia and all that. But there's something about me where it's like, that's a trophy earned, not something you can buy. What are your thoughts?
The mats I have right now mean something to me. The winning at my local event, that 32 person, like that means so much to me in a bubble of like I moved to a new city, met a made a bunch of new friends, started playing a card game they were interested in, and then got good at it and won. And like so this it has a story to me. But they're also hard to get. It's a limited run. They're never going to print any more of these mats. So I like having the story. I don't judge people for buying them and wanting just to have one to hold on to. There's nothing wrong with saying like I bought one and this is my memory of that tournament, even if I didn't win.
Right. That does make sense. And also because talking about prizes are these Rockstar Stitches. Now, my understanding is that four of them got sent to each local game store and
Yep.
they were given to the top four people. So anyone who made the semifinals in all the tournaments, with approximately, 16 people entering. Is that correct?
I played four tournaments. One was 16 people, two were 17, and one was 32.
So roughly in that ballpark, and maybe some tournaments out there had a lot more. So maybe some tournaments had less. I don't know. But these cards are going for almost $1,000 online. Now, is there any? Does anyone know how many of these cards were actually printed? Because you have to. The stores. My understanding is that the stores actually have to apply.
Yep.
Their store is a kind of like established play or kind of play center or play area, and then they have to apply to Ravensburger, however you want to say it. I suck at saying words. Um, and they need to apply and say like they're going to host a tournament, and then they get sent the cards. So do we know how many are out there, or do you think they're going to now release them to the public? Like, what's the deal there?
I it's so hard to know. I would have to imagine we live in the most populated area of Canada, like surrounding Toronto.
Sure.
There seem to be about 100 tournaments available. So if you want to double that, maybe triple that for the country, I'd say probably double it for the country. So that puts us at 200 stores nationwide. And then you 10x that for the US. right? So about 2,000 stores times four, 8,000 stitches total for all of North America. That number seems close to me. Maybe it's plus or
Yeah,
minus 1,000.
yeah, like put it at 10K, like 10,000 stitches total. Okay. And
I
do
mean,
you think
I might be way off. There might be 20,000, and I'm underestimating how many stores there are.
sure, sure, it's a number.
Yeah.
And then the follow-up question is, are they just gonna release it in the set number 5? Or would they not
No,
do that?
no, I think this is a one and done.
One and done?
I think
Very
these
cool.
are the only print run of these cards, and if you have one, you have one, and if you don't, you maybe never will.
Oh, they're definitely rare.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just trying to catch on to these price tags because they're quite astronomical as far as enchanteds go, right?
I think
Probably
they're gonna
I was gonna say 6 times the value of a normal enchanted.
I'd say average enchant is probably about 200 bucks. The most expensive enchant is Elsa, but I don't think there's another one that's at 800, so this would be the number 2. Um yeah, I don't know. I imagine a lot of people are going to sell these now. The price will probably dip to like 400 bucks at the lowest. And then I imagine after that initial wave of selling it, it'll just be a slow climb from there on out. I can't even imagine if you had like the first ever Pokemon tournament promo card that you
Yeah.
won.
If if Lorcana stands the test of time, which I think it is poised to do, you might be right there. That might skyrocket.
There's also a little like collector's insurance because it's Disney. There will always be a market for a Stitch something.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, let's get into, you played in 4 tournaments. Obviously, you had a lot of success. What was the most memorable moment out of the 4 tournaments? What was maybe the best round that you played, best matchup? Any crazy 19-0 comebacks?
Close. I would say, oh man, there were so many. There was such a like. There were so many games. There was so many fun games, so many fun rounds. I practiced primarily with 4 other people. We kind of jokingly call ourselves Team Rockstar for Rockstar Stitch because we're all going to win one.
You
Um,
did,
sorry?
and you did.
Yeah, we did. We did. So I faced each one of them at least once throughout the 4 tournaments because I mean, if you show up the same tournament, you're just going to get matched together. And I beat each one of them one time. Uh, yeah. So that was cool. Like it was cool playing these hard tournaments and then facing off against the people I practice with. And in the games we practiced, a lot of the times, be like, "Hey, show me your hand. What are you thinking? How do we improve this play?" And then we had an actual like, all chips are on the line now. This is what the event's for. You're gonna try your hardest. I'm gonna try my hardest. They beat me as well. Like it wasn't a game to game kind of thing. The semifinals that I lost was to one of those four people. But it was memorable. Was playing those 4 people that I practiced with and that I all genuinely wanted to see do well, and then they did as well.
That's
And
great.
then the single most memorable round of all of the 4 tournaments was Saturday. I had first play, which is in Lorcana like a huge advantage, maybe 20% variance over 1,000 games, like ridiculous. I go first. This person skunks me. It was Emerald Steel, 20-0. I didn't stand a chance.
Wow.
Game 2, same thing. He is just destroying me. The game looks so similar. The score is 18-4. And at 18-4, I managed to deal with his board every single turn until I won 20-18.
Well, holy
Um,
smokes.
I was making suboptimal plays to ensure that I had to play the next round, and I always had something to play. It was a lot of decision making, a lot of strategy. There was someone watching our game, and he commented to me after. He was like, "If I was you, I would have just quit when it was 18-4. Like, there's no way to come back from that." But I didn't, and I found a way, and I found the one line, the one way through the woods that got me out on the other side. So
Wow.
that single round, I think, was my favorite of the whole 4 tournaments.
Well, Now I feel bad for the person that you beat because they must have thought they got this in the bag and they didn't. Maybe
Really,
that's
really good player.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So what would you say you learned? What was like the biggest learning point? Because it sounds like it might come from that game, but what was the biggest learning point?
I think a couple things really stuck out. One is that the practice I did 100% paid off.
Mhm.
I can honestly say there is a one-to-one correlation with how I did versus how much I practiced. I saw the deck I primarily practiced against the most, so that really helped.
Okay.
And that confidence of going into bad matchups, knowing I've practiced them, I think made a lot of difference. So I would say that's like the biggest thing I learned. There's other stuff like along the way. Bring a water bottle was probably another one I learned as time went on, but yeah, that was the biggest one. It was the practice is invaluable.
That's good. I'm curious to know how many people did practice before these, or if they just went in going like, "Oh, I play on the weekend and I'll just join and give it my best shot."
It's also it's not just like there's like good practice and bad practice, I would say. If you're winning all of your practice games, that's bad practice. You should be playing with people that are beating you consistently and learning from them. So if
Yeah,
you're in a group of, 3 or 4 people and you're like, "Oh, I've won every game for the last 2 months. I'm going to go to this tournament and destroy." Well, did you learn to play your deck really well, or did you just find a group of people that maybe with bad matchup to yours or worse than you and
right.
kind of maybe misrepresent your own deck?
Yeah. Well, that will be I know our next video coming out is going to be how to prep for a tournament. So maybe this is all advice that we will kind of bottle up and put into a better format and release out to you guys coming up. Just knowing Chicago's around the corner, beginning of June. So we'll have a nice compact video how to prep for your next tournament, and that will be just in time for that. Gonna have to subscribe to see it. Hit that subscribe button, bottom right hand corner. And do you want to leave us with any final thoughts?
This is a really fun game.
Yeah,
Like it actually.
I started playing it. I did, and I'm addicted.
Yeah,
Uh, I am. It is a lot of fun.
to bring you out to league on a Saturday.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Well, thank you so much for watching.
Yep. Thank you guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Again, this was just a short little recap of the championship weekend where my brother, our resident professional Lorcana player, did pretty good. And I think when you do good at something, we should give you a thumbs up. And that's it. That's
Thanks.
it.